So Tracy, we will only be on TikTok on your account. I don't have the time to figure out.
Okay. I'm going to flip my camera. I'll try to flip. Sorry, gang. I apologize for talking over you guys. Larry's still having a little bit of problems. I'll flip my camera and see if we can do it that way.
Where's my cursor?
Well, keep dreaming. I would love that too. But in the meantime, I'll take them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
The alternative is not good. Hey guys.
That's
Hey, Missy. All right. Can you guys see my screen? I'm going to.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to do this a little differently here.
Yep. We're live on some sites, but I can't get TikTok working. So.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of problems here. Okay, let me do this, and hopefully this will. Oops, wrong direction. Okay, so this is very creative here. So Larry, I've gone ahead and brought people up in boxes.
Okay.
Okay. So folks on TikTok, can you see my screen? And if anybody knows, can I make my screen whole and still have people in boxes, or is the split screen the best I can do?
Let me see. There might be one that I can give you a little more space.
Okay.
I don't think I'm one of your mods though. If you go to the people, the boxes.
Got it.
And the one that you've got one of them that shows everybody in.
Yep.
On the right hand side except you.
Yep.
That says it's like a fixed format. Try that.
Fixed format.
So it'll put the 8 boxes.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay. Nope, that wasn't it. Hold on. Oh, we love technology. Love it.
I'll say, or you can make me a moderator and I can do it for you.
Okay, how do I make you a moderator, my dear? Oh, there we go. Extend, give. Okay, how do I make you a moderator?
So go to moderators
and
click.
Okay, hold on, back up.
Choose my name from the list.
Okay, just where
you can search for me and choose me.
Okay, where's moderators?
Under settings.
Oh, under settings. Settings. Moderators, got it. Okay. And add moderator.
Kim or I, your moderator.
Okay, Kim's eating dinner, so we'll put you in there. Okay. I'm waiting for the. There you are, and add. Okay, and confirm. Okay, you are on there.
Awesome.
Okay, so you're going to take care of that.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, Larry.
Okay. Now we can get started.
Out here, which means the folks on TikTok can see you and hear you. I've got folks in boxes.
Okay.
We can do this. Thank you.
Make things work.
Yeah, real quick. Folks on Zoom, can you hear my computer? So, Larry, if you'll talk to us.
Hello, hello, hello.
We hear it.
Okay. I've got it up as loud as it'll go.
Okay.
Okay. And thank you, Kim. We got it worked out.
Okay. So do we want to start off with introductions?
Yeah.
Tracy, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I will go first. So thank you everyone for joining. I think I know most folks on the phone, or on the call. My name is Tracy. I'm an ambassador with Davis Phinney Foundation. I will be going to Washington, D.C. in 2 weeks for the first time to help lobby on the behalf of the Parkinson's community and telling our story, trying to motivate lawmakers by our story, by my story, everybody else's story. So I obviously have Parkinson's. I was diagnosed in 2018. And I'm excited for the opportunity to go. This is my first time going.
Greg, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name's Greg Richer. I live in Panama City Beach, Florida. I've had Parkinson's, idiopathic Parkinson's, for 15 years. I'm 70 years old. I am an ambassador for Boston Scientific, hence the horns from the deep brain stimulation surgery, and also for Parkinson's Foundation and Davis Finney Foundation. And I am looking forward to going to Washington, D.C. to continue to build the momentum that our disease needs to finally get somewhere with it.
Marty?
Hi, hi, I'm Marty Acevedo. I'm from San Diego County in California, actually Oceanside I live. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2000. I have a genetic form of Parkinson's called Parkin, and I'm involved with multiple advocacy groups, like the Cross Foundation, as and the PPMI study, Parkinson's Foundation, DPF as an ambassador, and then our local Parkinson's Association of San Diego and president and board director there. So I'm a registered dietitian, so I do a lot of talks, including for Gregory competition and Parkinson's. Looking forward to being in DC in just 12 days.
So, brain not working. Tracy, would you like to give your first story? Uh-oh, can't hear you.
Sorry, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, my name's Larry. Maryland. Tremor started late 2020, diagnosed 2024, and I'm not going to DC. Tracy, would you like to talk about your first story?
Yeah, so we thought what we'd do is, so the whole idea of tonight is to talk about telling our stories and maybe walk you guys through telling stories. Do you have questions about telling stories? Because I don't know about you, but when people say, yeah, hey, just tell your story, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that looks like. I don't necessarily know how to do that. So that's kind of what the conversation is geared around, as well as anything else related to this advocacy work that we're doing and folks going to DC or having been experienced in going to do this either in front of people or like I went to my state capitol last Friday and talked to some folks, so all that kind of stuff. So the question I think was, do you remember when you first told your story? Do you remember the first time you talked to somebody about having Parkinson's, right? And I'm the one who came up with the question, and quite honestly, I had to think back. When was the first time that I did? And I think really one of the first times that I talked to somebody about it was my chiropractor at the time. He's very into fitness and things like that, and we knew each other very well, and just kind of told my story. And he was very interested. He wanted to know all about it. He wanted to know about the exercise and things like that. And that was one of the first opportunities I had to talk to somebody about it. And it was well received. I'll put it that way. It's always nice when somebody kind of puts you at ease, and has an actual interest in what you're telling them. So that was kind of my story.
Greg?
My story is, I think, unfortunately, fairly typical of a lot of people with Parkinson's, in that I sort of self-diagnosed myself. For 3 years, I had been going to my PCP with a little tremor in my right pinky finger. And He kept telling me, oh, it's benign essential tremors, sports injuries. I was very athletic as a young person, so I bought that hook, line, and sinker. My oldest daughter got married an Australian, and they had a destination wedding in Colorado so that they could all see snow. They're from the Brisbane area, which would be like being from Miami. I made arrangements for limos to take my daughter over there. I went with her as the father of the bride. Get in the limo, and everybody says, oh, the bouquet of the flowers is amazing. I couldn't smell a thing. First time I had sensed that I had no sense of smell. But I didn't want to be Doug the Downer, so I didn't say anything. And I figured maybe if you buy the flowers, you can't smell them. I don't know. But anyways, after all the festivities are over with, I asked my wife for a shampoo. I said, hey, do you have anything you could not miss the odor on? And she says, sure. So I lathered up and I said, sweetheart, I can't smell a thing. So we bust out the iPad, type in tremor and no smell, and one word pops up, starts with a P, ends with an Arkansans. So I kind of self-diagnosed myself. Took me 4 months to get in and see a movement disorder specialist. He had me do the traditional, we all know those little games. And he turned around and said, you got Parkinson's and you got it bad. My wife burst into tears. I, being a pragmatic warlord of commerce, said, how long? How long do I have? He said his exact words, 10 to 12 years. The last 2 are a bitch. At that, the nurse threw him out of his own office, said, you can't talk to people like that. And that's how I found out I had Parkinson's.
You didn't know you had to pay extra for the scent of the flowers, huh?
Yeah, well, those flowers are expensive too.
Yeah. Really quick, Larry, I just want to take a quick minute for TikTok to see if anyone on TikTok, do you have any questions? I realize we're just introducing ourselves, but just if you would put your questions in the chat, and I want to thank people for joining because we have a pretty full house over here, Larry. I got all my boxes full, and I got quite a few people in the chat with us as well. So. What? Say that again, Randy.
Where did Missy go?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Marty, would you like to go next? Introducing yourself, your story.
Randy.
Okay, yeah, I placed myself in 2004, and after my exercising, they noticed that I had this really weird tremor that took over my whole body, and PT Psychosocial and neuro. I actually saw 2 neurologists at visit, and they told me I had essential tremor. So I was treated for that, and effectively for a couple of years, and then went back because I had some falls, and said to me, you have Parkinson's, your husband better keep his job because you've got insurance and you'll be bedridden in 10 years. She was wrong a long time ago. And the first person I called was my husband, and I was in tears. I was just devastated because the only thing I knew about Parkinson's in 2004 was that Michael J. Fox had it. A friend of mine at work had it, and I didn't want to have dyskinesia and all that. Well, that's what my symptoms evolved to be a strong response to carbidopa and had early dyskinesia, which is typical of my type.
Larry, we can't hear
We've
her.
lost her. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, she's got, it sounds like she has a kind of a bad connection. Yeah, Marty, if you can hear us, we think you may have a little bit of a bad connection because we've lost you. So Larry, if we can, I hate to cut her off, but let's move on
Okay.
while she figures it out on her end. And we'll bring her back.
So the next one was the importance of storytelling. Why is sharing your story vital?
Do you want to talk about that one, Larry, or because you haven't spoken much yet? But you're out on the back end, so you can pass if you want.
I'm good. I'm not going. So yeah.
Greg?
Sure.
So what? Yeah, tell us why is it so important that we tell our story?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, I think that as a rule, most people with Parkinson's are at least apathetic and sometimes even depressed for a period of time. I think everyone with Parkinson's, and certainly most Americans, would love to have a map of Parkinson. What do I do next? What do I do first, second, third, fourth, and so forth? Unfortunately, all of us with Parkinson's know that every one of us has a different kind of Parkinson's. Marty's is genetically driven. Mine, we don't know. Maybe it was the water I drank. Maybe it was just God giving me the short end of the stick. Doesn't matter what it is, we both have Parkinson's. So to me, the true thing about trying to get your story told is to hit people's, what I call their heartstrings. You can tell when you're talking to an audience and they are following with every word you say. And I think it is important for people with Parkinson's, especially when everybody's story is so different. Our symptoms are different. They're different every day. Mine are different hour to hour. And so I think it's important for people to want to hear, well, what do I do? What do I do next? What do I do next? Western medicine, I can assure you, their answer is take some more pharmaceuticals.
They don't want to go to business.
Yeah. Eastern medicine, I think their answer is maybe a little more acupuncture and using your mind for clear-headed thought and balance and stuff like that. Marty made a career of working with people with nutrition. I personally think it's all of those things. I don't think there's a map for Parkinson's, but I sure know you can use a compass.
Yeah.
There's a north that's intellectually understanding what's going on in your brain. There's a south. To me, that's the spiritual nature of learning to live with your disease. There's an east. That's exercise. Exercise is the great elixir for Parkinson's. And finally, there's a west. Go west, young man, like Horace Greeley said. That's self-advocacy. That's why Marty, myself, and Tracy and others are going to Washington, D.C. in a couple of weeks to tell our story. We've got to get in front of these people and be able to tell them what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just as a for instance, if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Carbidopa levodopa, the golden standard for pharmaceutical Western medicine, was first invented in 1962 and then approved by the FDA in 1968.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you went into a car dealership and said, "Hey, I've got Parkinson's. I need some help. I need a car that can sense if I change lanes and speed and all this other kind of stuff. I want the best new car you have." And the car salesman says, "Have I got the 1968 Rambler for you?"
Right.
What would you do? You'd walk out of that car dealership so fast their head would spin. But that's what we people with Parkinson's have been putting up with.
Yep.
It's about time we stopped.
That's how I start my story a lot of times, especially when I write my story to somebody, like if I write out my story to like in an email or something. That's what I say is I say, think back to when, we put a man on the moon, and this basically the same year that we put the man on the moon, this drug came out. Well, all the technology and everything that put the man on the moon now sits in museums. It became scrap metal. That medication that was the gold standard and it came out and everybody was all excited about. Guess what? We're still using it. But yeah. So, and what was our question, Larry? Was the importance of telling the story, or was that it?
Yes, the importance of storytelling. Why is it important that we get out and talk to people about a deal? Marty, I think you look much clearer to me now.
Yeah, you do. And we actually, Marty, we need to.
I switched my cell phone. I was having connectivity issues.
Okay, good, because the folks on the Zoom were not able to hear you at all, and we had some background. So so go ahead and talk to us for a minute about why you think it's important to tell the story.
Well, I think that you have to make it personal for someone to connect. We can talk about Parkinson's, this, that, and motor symptoms and non-motor symptoms and all that. So when you talk about what happened to you and how you dealt with it and how you're living your best life with it, and that makes it more real. As an example, my Parkinson's is genetic in nature. I inherited 2 variants of Parkinson's from each parent, but neither of them had Parkinson's. My grandmother probably did, and she had an internal tremor like I had. She was told by her doctor that she had a heart flutter or something, and she needed to start exercising. This was in the 60s. So I don't believe she ever was diagnosed with Parkinson's, but I know by her symptoms and just what I recall, she definitely did.
Marty,
and,
Marty, I apologize. The folks are still having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if if you can get closer to your phone or something.
Sure.
Okay, and just they're still having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, I think it's important to tell our stories, and we need to make it personal. We can tell facts and figures and all of that, but until you start talking about how it's impacted you personally, it's not going to mean anything to anyone else. With me, my Parkinson's, I call it Parkinson's-like, because my symptoms aren't as severe as some others, but I still had issues. I still have rigidity in the morning. I have freezing at gait. I have all these other issues. So, and I'm often told, well, we can manage you with your Parkinson's with therapies, and we don't need to do any more research on your type of Parkinson's because you're managed. Well, that's not true. I mean, that's not fair. I know that there's someone really close to gene therapy that may be able to stop my progression and perhaps cure my particular type of Parkinson's. And it's not fair to me to say to me, well, you're not as impacted as others, so you don't deserve to have the best therapy and the best treatment. That's not what I'll tell our legislators, but I will urge them to fund the NIH with $600 million for Parkinson's research. It's so important for everyone in our community. And as an advocate, I meet with an awful lot of people who are struggling every single day, every hour of every day with all the ways that Parkinson's impacts their entire being. And I think most people still think that don't have Parkinson's, they still think, oh, it's just a tremor. It's that little old man stooped over, stumbling around, walking. It doesn't really impact you that much. You're not dying from it, but it takes part of us every single day. And I think that's important to note with people.
Yeah, I do too. And so I'm going to add, I'd like to add my thoughts on why it's important to tell the story. Sorry, my arm is really cold, you guys. It's some sort of a weird temperature control thing I have going here. And I'm just going to pause for a second. Right now, we don't have any questions from the Zoom, from the TikTok side. So if we do have questions, we have Jess as our moderator, and she's keeping everything going and everybody. So she's juggling all the balls over here. So I want to tell her thank you, and I want to thank everybody for joining, because this is a little different. The technology didn't come together quite like we had hoped it would, but we are making it work. So we hope that you will get something from this. The idea is that at the end of the day, if you have not thought about telling your story, that maybe you'll be inspired to do so. Larry and I were talking about this, and he said it perfectly. Larry said, "You know what, Tracy? If one person walks away from this and actually sits down at their computer and writes a letter to their lawmaker, then we have been successful." And I agree with that. So my view of why we need to tell our story changed a little bit on Friday when I went to our state capitol. So I'm going to tell that story very quickly. Friday in Colorado was day at the state capitol, and it was a chronic illness awareness day. And so there was a group of about 10 people representing Parkinson's who were down there, and we were with people like Alzheimer, rare blood disease, Angie, Angie has,
MS.
Yeah, MS was there, seizure.
ALS.
Yeah, okay. So you get the picture, right? And there is some legislation out here in Colorado for medical related bills that are up right now. But here's, I was with the Parkinson Association of the Rockies, and they invited, they let the Michael J. Fox Foundation know, of course, what was going on. And so we had a representative come and join us, and I don't have the man's card right here, but he's the Western Regional Manager for Government Affairs or something like that. And anyway, so he and I were talking, and he basically, what he told me was, I was like, well, what can one person do? What do you need more of? And this is what he told me. He said, Tracy, there is a niche group of people out there in the Parkinson's community who are good at this, and they do this regularly for us. He said the problem is it's not, he said it wasn't that there's not enough people telling their story, but that he said really what they're finding at the root of it is that there's not enough people in the Parkinson's community who know enough about Parkinson's, who are comfortable enough to tell their story. What do you say to that? Right?
Well,
I said, you know what? I agree. I agree. Now we've got, I don't know how many people we have on my side here, 2, 4, 6, 8. We probably have a dozen people listening to us on TikTok right now, I'm going to guess, right? And 11. Thank you, Jess. It's, we sometimes we talk amongst ourselves a lot, right? but how comfortable are we? How much do we know? And that's why I wanted to bring this group, kind of have this open conversation about this, because it's one thing to talk to your peers about it, but how do you talk to somebody else about it? How do we motivate more people to want to tell their stories? So, Greg.
Well, I can tell you one phraseology that I use that seems to capture a lot of people's attention. If you write the phrase, and have everyone, with a pen and paper write this down, write the phrase, opportunity is nowhere. That's what Parkinson's seems like. Nobody has an answer. The doctors tell you have 10 or 12 years to live. Some of them include that it's going to suck, like it's a bitch. Some of them are just going to say, oh, that's genetics. It can't do anything about it. But if you write that phrase, opportunity is nowhere, that's what stops people with Parkinson's. Now, Viktor Frankl, famous psychologist, lived through Auschwitz. I'll give him a lot of credit for that.
He's an amazing author. Love his books.
Right.
Yeah,
his books are. I keep his book, Man's Search for Meaning. It's an amazing book. Everybody should read it. But one of the things he talks about is he says, we as humans, we have this unique capacity that we can respond to stimuli any way we want, because we have what he calls response ability. We have a responsibility to do this, but we can choose to respond to stimulus any way we want. So he says it's a pause. It's a gap. That's the key. If you take a pause or a gap or a space and put it between the W and the H in nowhere, what does that phrase now say? Opportunity is now here. It's the exact same language, the exact same letters, in the exact same order. That's what we have to start to do with people with Parkinson's. We have got to get people motivated from a disease that takes your motivation away.
Yeah.
But we're baby boomers, man. We've changed everything in our lives. We need to change the direction that Parkinson's is taking.
Yeah. And I'll just because I know, the folks on my screen, you can't see who's on TikTok. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say pretty much everyone who's on the TikTok is in the young onset group. They're all Gen Xers. And I am going to, if he is willing to, on our Zoom, we have Adrian Morales with us, and he's got this big smile on his face like, Tracy, I just really want to say something. So if you have something you'd like to add to it, because he's very well versed, and many of you know him. He's very well versed at telling his story. I'd like you to chime in if you'd like to. And just if you
sure.
If I don't know if we won't change the box or anything for you, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can hear me. I'm usually pretty loud. It's funny. I love to listen to everybody else because most of you know I constantly travel the country and tell my story. So I kind of get tired of hearing my own story. And I'd rather hear y'all's stories. But I will tell you at the onset, and some of you know this, I do travel, and I am not an ambassador. I am an ambassador, but I'm a national spokesman for the Parkinson's Foundation. And then also I travel, and I'm a spokesman for a big pharma company for one of the drugs that some of you take, and I take. I'm not at liberty to mention the name, but so I travel and I see a lot of different people, and I get a whole lot of different views and different takes on, you know, some of the opinions that we're talking about. As far as telling the story, you know, what we're on here for, you know, I'd love to say, well, I go around telling my story because they pay me to do it. Well, that's true, but that's not when I started doing it, and that's not actually why I do it. What Larry was saying is very important. Now, we have to be realistic. There's over 1 million of us telling this story. Not telling the story, but having the story. And, you know, so what we have to remember is we have to be unique. I was just talking to Senator Thune last week, the Senate leader, and I am supposed to be there in a couple of weeks. I have a scheduling conflict, so I'm hoping they can work that out, but I am supposed to be in DC myself. Anyway, the thing is that, like he was saying, when you come sit in front of us, what's different? When you speak, what's different from you and Mike Fox or anybody else? And that's what we got to remember. We all have Parkinson's, yes. We all have different symptoms, yes. But what is going to make our story memorable to them so that they go home and say, man, I've never heard that aspect. Most of you guys don't know. Some of you do, that I am on oxygen. I'm not wearing it at this moment, but it's Parkinson's. I have to wear oxygen because of my Parkinson's. I'm 15 years in, and I have to wear that when I'm walking or anything like that anymore. And I will tell you, I speak on a lot of stages. I don't wear it when I'm on stage. I suck it up, go speak, and then get off and use it again because I'm like anybody else. It's not that easy. It embarrasses me to do it, you know. But those are things that most people don't know that some people will face. And so what I say to that is, whenever we're telling our stories, talk about what is unique to you that maybe isn't unique to someone else. I've never heard anybody else tell me that they're on oxygen for Parkinson's. So that's, I don't know if God or fate or what, but that gives me an in to mention something different where they'll remember. And all of us have something different about our own stories that we can throw out there that somebody will remember. And that's what will make our stories, you know, carry a little more weight. So that just basically means look inside yourself and what's the most thing you struggle with and bring it on out there. Tracy and I have talked privately, and I don't like to share a lot of the personal things. I travel around the country and I do this, and I'm supposed to be motivationalist. But lately I've been letting everybody in on a little bit more of my struggles because I believe that it's helpful. And there are things that people need to know actually come with Parkinson's. So anyway, I don't want to take a lot of time, but that's what I think makes our story so important. And I'm sorry to talk so long, guys.
Actually, thank you, Adrian, for chiming in, because it's actually a great segue. Larry, if you can, because I don't have it on my screen here. Can you?
Absolutely.
You go to the part of the notes where we talk about the speak method and help walk us. We'll walk through that, because what Adrian's saying, right, is so the next part of what we're going to talk about tonight is there a way that we can, you know, how can we pull out of ourselves what is our unique story so that we can share it? And there are many methods to doing this that are out there. One of them is, and this is by the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and myself, I'm going to DC for the first time, so they've offered me some training, and I've been doing this training. And one of the things that they've trained us on is what we're talking about. Hey, you're going to tell your story. How do you tell your story? Well, here's a way that you can tell your story, and it's called the SPEAK method, SPEAK. And I'm going to hit pause. For those of you on Zoom, if you're interested, now would be a good time to grab maybe something to take notes with. And I can certainly put out something in writing, put a post out or something with this information on it. I will follow up and do that in the next couple of days. But if you want to grab something while I'm talking, I'm kind of chewing up a minute here so that you can grab a paper and pen and kind of write this down. We're just going to give you some bullet points on this. But Larry, I'm going to need you. I don't have this memorized.
Absolutely. No problem. You don't have it memorized yet? No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't. So SPEAK is an acronym, right, to help you write your thing. So what is the S for? What?
So S is start strong, speak slowly.
Okay, so that's start strong. That's your like opening statement. And Greg, I see your hand. Just 1 second here. I'll get you to chime in. So So start strong. That's your opening statement. And the opening statement shared about, hey, guess what? We went to the moon and we got carbidopa levodopa in the same year. And guess which one is still actively
The gold standard.
right? Okay. So, and then speak slowly. That would be if you are in person with the folks. So, Greg, do you have something on that part of it?
Sure. As a profession, I was a public speaker and I've spoken to many groups, real large groups and stuff like that. Physiologically, you can think 6 times faster than anybody can speak. So 5/6 of your audience's brain power has nothing to do while you're talking to them, unless you give them an emotional heartstring to listen to.
Yep. It's called a hook.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Something that's going to grab them and kind of bring them in. It's and for the folks on TikTok, right? We know if there is even a 1/10 of a second of air or gap in the first of your video, people will swipe past you. Right. So yeah. So we get that. Okay. So what P?
P is problem. State it clearly.
Okay. So that's pretty easy because our problem starts with the letter P. So we can all remember that, right? Parkinson's. But now I say that broadly. It might be something else. Your problem might be, you might be one who is really focused on like the paraquat or the pesticide, it's something, right? Like,
Mhm.
Or something. So that may be your problem. Parkinson's related to this, right? I'm not sure we need a lot of discussion around that one. Whatever it is. So, but I think for most of us, Parkinson's is going to be the problem. So whatever the problem.
I think we need to think about, at this point, how we're going to relate that problem to our ask. So if we tell a story that doesn't have anything to do with what we're asking for, it's kind of disjointed.
Oh, yep.
And
Sorry.
if I can,
Okay.
one thing I would add to that is, if you think about it, 50 countries in the world, Great Britain, the European Union, China, these are not also ran third world countries. These are very advanced countries, and they have banned paraquat.
Number's 99, Greg. 99 countries have banned
Well,
paraquat.
yeah, 99. What,
But not the U.S.
but not the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
We've doubled the usage of paraquat in the last 10 years. The 2 crops that use it the most are corn and soybeans.
The 2 things my dietitian told me to cut out of my diet.
Right. We could take half of the money we spend in subsidizing the cost of corn or soybeans and buy every stinking ounce of paraquat that is manufactured either in England or in China.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want something really cool to think about, what better way to get rid of your enemy than to poison their people for profit?
There's a study that was done at UCLA that looked at the folks that work in the Central Valley of California. That's our big farmland area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the workers that work there, and correlated that there's a direct relationship between the use of paraquat in commercial food growing and the onset of Parkinson's later in life.
Yeah.
It's that clear.
so I'm going to take this and trying to make sure that we get folks all the letters in the formula, or a formula for writing, for kind of telling our story. So paraquat is a a topic within Parkinson's that we can focus on and get more information about. So we have S and P, right? And E. What is E, Larry?
Evidence and emotion, humanize
Okay.
the facts and statistics.
Okay, which is what Greg and Marty just did for us, right? So you would start it with a strong opening relating, with that hook and that emotion, with to deal with something to do with Parkinson's and paraquat, and stating the problem, right? Paraquat, and then adding that emotion to it. So,
If I could.
Greg, you've given us some great evidence. Marty, you gave us, the emotion, the fact that there's farmers and it's been proven, right, that it's affected them, right?
10 states, 10 United States of America states currently have passed legislation stopping the use of paraquat on corn and soybeans. Yet the feds can continue to subsidize those crops. I have an idea. Want to solve both of them at the same time?
Can I, Greg, can I get you to put your solve on hold just for a second here? So we put it, I want to relate that to the speak method. So Larry, what is A? Or SPEA? Yeah.
A is answer and ask, provide a solution, allow for questions. It is okay if you don't have every answer, simply offer a follow-up.
Okay, so yeah, so we've presented this. Now, Greg, you have a solution that you want to share with us. So perfect. Thank you for letting me.
Which is A, and that's what I meant to try and say. What if we quit subsidizing the growth of crops that demand it? Do you know that if we took half of that money that the federal government spends, we could buy the entire output of both the Chinese and the British, buy it outright, not allow anybody to have any paraquat. And I got an idea. What if we then turned around and used it on the drug cartels or enemies of the state? That's relative.
There you go.
Now, I obviously don't mean that.
Right.
Sometimes what you have to do to get people to start thinking about a call to action, which is the K.
Yep. Yeah. So K, let me just pause right there. So K is call to action, even though we know the word call doesn't start with C. Sorry if you're one of those people. But anyway, so yeah, so if you can have an answer or a solution, that's what's very, very important, right? Because it's one thing to be passionate and talk to our lawmakers about this stuff, but they don't necessarily have an answer, right? But if you have an answer or a solution, then they know what to do for you. Otherwise, it's like, oh, thank you, nice story, move along, right?
Right.
Giving them the answer, solution, right? Then they're like, oh, right? Because you just said, hey, if we change this, then it, here's the benefit of it. And then we have K, which is the call to action. So that's K is call to action, which is us asking them to, specifically to help us, right? Hey, you're on that committee. Thank you for being on that committee. Now, make sure you follow it through with the vote or whatever. Greg, what was continue on with your paraquat thing for the call to action?
Well, what I was going to say is I don't seriously want people to start spraying drug cartels because that doesn't get rid of Parkinson's.
Right. No.
We need to get rid of the source of the greed. That's money.
So our call to action is to ask them to sign the letter that will ban paraquat, and the letter that's going to the head of the EPA.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that's our call. That's our call to action, and
Yeah.
to also support, join the caucus, the Parkinson's caucus in Congress.
Yeah. And I had a thought with this too. I've been thinking about this because a lot of us live in areas where it's heavy agriculture. You know, in Colorado, our state is split in two. We have the mountains on one side and the plains on the other. And that's where all of our agriculture is, or the majority of it is out in the plains. And there's a lot of it, right? And so Greg mentioned the states, the 9 or 10 states who have they've either passed something or they have current legislation that they're trying to pass with regards to paraquat and other pesticides, right? So Colorado's not one of them. You know, so if it would be a good ask would be, hey, Senator Bennett, right? Senator Hickenlooper, can we, you know, my ask is that, and I realize he's on a national level, right? But my ask is to please work on that, and let's bring it back home. Let's start at home, right? Can we, you know, help us get Colorado? I mean, the guy was governor for 8 years. You know, he knows people here, right?
Well, aren't there approximately 18,000 people with Parkinson's in Colorado? I know
there's over 20.
Okay, over 20.
Over
I know
20.
there's over 68,000 people in Florida.
And it's 120,000 in California.
Yeah, and California is the largest state by sheer number.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I think we need to get people to see is, wait a minute, here is a problem that we have. We are not funding research properly. By the way, Alzheimer's has 6.2 million Americans have Alzheimer's. Parkinson's, the number is much closer to 1.1, 1.2 million people.
In the U.S. Yeah.
That is 6 times the size. However, if you look at 2 years ago, because the federal government has to tell us this, 2 years ago, NIH, National Institute of Health, they gave Alzheimer's research $3.2 billion with a B dollars.
Yeah, it
In
was
the same year, they gave Parkinson's $277 million.
right.
Now, to
Yeah,
make those fair, that's $0.2 billion. Something's got to give. That's ridiculous.
and we know that Parkinson's is the trajectory is that to outpace Alzheimer's. So, but I want to bring us back to about telling our story. So we've got the SPEAK method, right? And Larry, keep me honest here. Make sure that I get this correctly. So S is for
Strong start.
Strong start. Thank you. P is for the problem.
Right.
E is for emotion and
Evidence.
evidence. Thank you. A is for
Ask and
the ask,
answer.
right? And K is call to action. Tell them what you need them to do. What is your ask? What do you need them to do? Okay.
Well,
hang on here. Mama Bear, Jess is our mod for this, and she can help you. So at the end of the day, the hope is that with this, that we've given folks reasons, and we've talked about our experiences, and we've given them a formula to help add your voice to ours in telling the story. Larry, did I have anything past that in our notes, like
no.
day? Okay,
That was
didn't. Okay. Really quick, I want to just, and I'm sorry to we got started late because of technical difficulty. We usually go for an hour. We're at an hour and 12 minutes. Oh, I did want to turn it over though to our folks on TikTok to see if there were any questions. There was one, it was specific to Paraquat, I think, and it was way up. I'm sorry, Roscoe, I know you had a question. I saw it flip by. But it looks like, Jess, it looks like people are having problems hearing or seeing. I know nothing's changed on my side.
Yeah, some people are having issues getting back in. It's probably just a problem with TT, but it's recorded so they can watch it.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. So we can get it out there. Okay. Let's see.
Tracy,
Question.
if I can I throw in one last point that I know I want to get across while I'm there?
Yep. And then we do have a question.
Sure.
Yep, go for it, Craig.
In 2023, we finally, through advocacy, got the first federal legislation for Parkinson's. They were told, hey, here's some money. Get started, build a committee, and in 2 years, we want you to come back and make some recommendations to the National Institute of Health and Health and Human Services. To date, this is 3 years ago, if you want to do the math. You know what? The money's been spent. Maybe you could tell me who's going to be on this committee. That's the question I would ask Congress. Are you on that committee? Oh, you're not. Oh, as a matter of fact, I think only Casper the Ghost is on that committee.
Yeah, it is. It is sad. Let's see. I'm going to go. Thank you. And you're right. And that maybe that's what motivates you, and that's where you start. I know I 8 months ago, looking at it, and that's where I started, and that was the letter that I wrote in the fall. That was the focus of my letters to my lawmakers in the fall, was about that. You know, hey, what's going on? Now it's, you know, that's still where I'm at, but I'm reevaluating and looking at it differently. Question was, here we go, and I don't know if anybody has an answer. Is there any known money or incentive for any government to single out PD fund for a cure? So
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's not, and I think Greg, you've kind of you've kind of done that. There was another question here from Lisa. She wanted to know how you get picked to go to DC, and so I know, Lisa, there was an application period. It was through the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and back, I think it was like in November, they had an open application where they were taking applications for people to go, because they need to make sure, my understanding, and correct me, gang, if I'm wrong, but you know, they can't have 25 people from Maryland and nobody from California, Washington, and Oregon, right? Mm-hmm. So they based on the applications, they they kind of divide it up equally. How they choose from the applications or any of that kind of stuff, I do not know. I don't know anything about that process. But that's how that was. Any other questions then on TikTok? I have to go. I have an in-person party. Okay. Shane, thank you for joining. We haven't seen you for a while. So it was really great that you attended tonight, and hopefully you found this helpful, because I know this is, Shane, I know this is something that's, that you're passionate about. And Jess, the live is recorded into Facebook and YouTube, and we will have that available later. Amanda, welcome. Thanks for explaining. Okay. Any other questions on the TikTok side? Would anybody on TikTok like to come off mute and ask our panel a question? Okay, Jess,
I just have to say bye, Tracy. I'm 15 minutes late on my next thing, but thank you for listening to me.
Yes.
It's a great conversation. You guys have a good evening.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it, buddy. So Lisa has a follow-up question. Is this at your own expense? Partially. Yes. And yeah, it could be. I think Marty, you're shaking your head. Obviously, this is my first time, so you have more experience at this than I do.
Well, the Fox Foundation generally pays for a couple of nights with hotels.
Marty, really quickly. Yeah, there we go. Come real close to your microphone there.
And usually the Fox Foundation pays for the hotel, but you kind of have to pay for your flight to get there. And then they're helping out with Uber vouchers for us to get around town, but we were responsible for some of our food. But it's well worth it from my perspective, just getting in front of our legislators and telling our stories and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to get our points across.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to add a little bit, I'm going to embellish on that just a little bit. So like she said, they are paying for the hotel and they will help with a few of the other expenses. You have to apply for it. It's like a scholarship or a grant. You have to apply for it. But at the same time, I do know that there are many other Parkinson's associations, foundations, small groups that they also have money set aside to help because they, for example, can't afford to pay to send somebody, the whole expense. But a lot of these smaller groups have money to help offset. Even if they give you $100, that's a couple meals, right? And so there are other grants and scholarships available. So, and Lisa says, thank you. That answers her question.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can tell you, whether I don't pursue it or whatever, I foot the bill for many of these. I'm going to the World Parkinson's Congress. I'm going back to talk to various groups, some in Michigan, some out in California. I pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah. For the most part, these are at your own expense. And those, and I know I've heard of people who do kind of like their own fundraising, locally with their folks or their families and stuff to help pay for that. So, all right. Wrapping it up, I don't see any other questions on the TikTok side. I would like to thank Larry for letting us take over his Q&A on Tuesday nights. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of your technical abilities that you've shared with us, Larry. Thank you so much. And Greg and Marty for joining us. And Greg and I have been getting to know each other over the last couple of months. He's a super smart guy, lots of fun to talk to. Marty, this is the first time we've met, but I have a feeling we're going to talk a lot in the future because I just started with a dietitian. And we got some folks joining. We got some folks who are just joining in on our TikTok here. And I'm going to say thank you. And Larry, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
If I could I just finish one thing and then I'll shut up. I'm sorry for all this.
That's what, Greg. That's you, Greg.
Good. You have really good stuff to say. So
this is to all the people with early onset. When I speak to groups, especially school groups, high school, college, and junior high, I challenge them. Who wants to get into medicine? Who wants to get into the medical field? Because you know what? I know of a disease right now that carries the name of the man who first noticed it back in 1817. But there is no known cause and there is no known cure. If you want to put your name forever for all posterity to get rid of a disease like Parkinson's that costs our society $52 billion a year. This is the industry. It's the medical industry, and Parkinson's is the cause.
Yeah. Yep.
And I challenge these young people, quit screwing around with AI. It's just going to replace you. You know what's never going to replace you? Is coming up with the idea that solved Parkinson's.
Yep. Yep. And I know you and I, Greg, have had that. I think it was that on that call, had that conversation. It's just going to take one little in the cogwheel to think a little differently, and somebody's going to come up with something. So thank you for that. Okay, Larry, thanks.
No problem. Thank you all for sharing a story, and thank you, Tracy, for the idea. I didn't have any other idea, and so you brought something up, and I was like, "Hey, let's do it." It sounds like a good one. I am not seeing any other questions or anything. Does anybody else have any questions or any final thoughts?
I think just speak to your truth, and as I said before, allow yourself to be vulnerable, because that's what touches people's hearts, and then they hear you, and it'll make it very real to them, and they'll be more willing to follow through with your ask.
Yeah. Yeah. Really quickly, and I'm sorry, and then we'll cut. Marty or Greg, are either one of you on social media? We've had a couple people ask whether or not we know you're not on TikTok, but are you on social media where somebody could follow you?
I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
Okay.
I'm going to answer that by saying you'd have to ask my grandsons. Sorry, I don't follow any of that, but I believe I do have some accounts. And Tracy, if anybody wants to know my email address, my phone number, so I can talk with them about their part,
I have that. Just call me. Get Greg's info.
Yeah. But no, sorry about that. I think there's a saying about old dog and old tricks or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining. Larry, thank you so much. I'm going to go get dinner. And folks on TikTok, thank you for joining. I hope this helps. I hope that at least one person out there, if like Larry and I said, if one person, if we've motivated or help inspire one person to want to tell your story, especially to lawmakers, where there, it has some weight, then we have been successful. So thank you very much, you guys. Take care.
Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Yep. Thanks.
Victory.
All right, Jess.